belief being propagated since ages. The idea of being miserable, depressed, lonely, deranged, maniac has long been associated with being a creative genius. And to be fair, there are tons of examples. Sylvia Plath, highly acclaimed for her writing, suffered from various mental disorders before taking her life when she was only 30. Vincent van Gogh, revered painter, had depression and episodes of psychosis which led him to taking his life at age 37. Ernest Hemingway, the man who wrote Old Man and the Sea, didn't really get to be that old, if you know what I mean. Robin Williams, Edvard Munch, Friedrich Nietzsche, the list is endless. Even I was influenced by these and other glorified stories, preferably the ones where the artist didn't take the life at the end. It's there everywhere in our mainstream media, influencing us. Disturbed artists look cool in films, and well, I wanted to be cool. But since now I know better, do I know better? Better, bitter, butter, batter, batter, butter, bitter, better. Sorry, what was I saying? I looked into it, so you don't have to. If this idea is so popular, then it must be true. Or maybe people just like sad stories. Stories with conflict, with a tinge of madness. Maybe. Let us find out. So, if this idea of a mad genius is to be believed, then the question arises: what causes what? Does the mental disorder cause the creativity? Does the creativity cause the mental disorder? Or is it just a completely different relationship between them? But to find and understand the link between them, first you need to understand what is creativity. Creativity is unique to us human beings. It could simply be explained as an ability to create new things or new ideas. Thinking of original ideas using one's imagination. Now, if you think about it, nothing is really original. But it is often a combination of existing ideas that together form an unusual new idea. For example, the idea of a key and a heart are not creative individually per se, but the idea of a key to your heart is creative, whenever the person thought of it originally, that is. Researchers have been trying to study the link between this ability to create and mental illness for a very long time. It is a complicated thing to research as it is layered and complex. There can be many biases. But with modern technology that can monitor the brain signals, some things have become clearer. For example, there are some similarities between the brain of people who are bipolar or schizophrenic and the brains of creative people. Interesting, isn't it? But we are getting ahead of ourselves. So let's start from the beginning. That is research conducted by analyzing biographies of prominent creatives. As you can assume from the examples I gave in the beginning of this video, the findings are in line with the popular belief, showing a link between mental disorder and creativity. The rate and intensity of mental disorders appears to be usually higher in creatives than in general population. Depression being the most common problem faced by these creative individuals. Interestingly, it is dependent on specific domain of creativity. Like way more poets and writers face mental disorders than, say, scientists. Also, the families of these prominent creatives have a higher rate of mental disorders. Creativity and mental illness runs in the same family lines. These findings, although show some relationship, aren't that high as to represent a clear-cut relationship between them. highly creative individuals lie somewhere between the normal and abnormal range. Also, very cool by the way, creative individuals are found to have other characteristics that may reduce the effect of these symptoms. In particular, these are high levels of ego strength and self sufficiency. Creatives take advantage of bizarre thoughts to create rather than having the bizarre thoughts take advantage of them. This basically means that we creative individuals may be on the same spectrum of some mental disorders, but display a less severe form of it. Hence, use it to our benefit and create. Finally, coming back to brain imaging creative people and people with mental disorders. A very interesting occurrence was observed: reduced latent inhibition. What is latent inhibition? I don't know, but I will find out for you. Got it. That's how fast I read. Latent inhibition is a natural psychological phenomena. Simply put, we lose the ability to form an association with a stimuli if we are exposed to it repeatedly without any outcome. Not simple enough? In simpler words, it's harder to learn something new about something you are already familiar with. Let's take an example that will also help you understand it in terms of creativity. Let's imagine you walk past a gorgeous mountain view every day on your way to work. At first, it takes your breath away, but over time, you get used to it. It becomes part of the background of your daily life, and you stop paying much attention to it. Now, suppose one day a rare bird species starts nesting there. Your friend, who's seeing this scenery for the very first time, immediately notices both the beauty of the landscape and the bird. But you don't notice the bird at first. That's because your brain has already classified that view as nothing new or important. It's familiar, and you have learned to ignore it. It takes you longer to notice the change or form a new association with that same scenery. Now, this latent inhibition, which by the way we share with other animals as well, is seen to be highly reduced in creative individuals, which means that they are more likely to form a new association with something that they have been exposed for a long time compared to the general population. And guess where else this reduction in latent inhibition is observed? Acute phase schizophrenia. Similarly, a link is also found in mood disorders such as bipolar disorder and addiction. What is this link, you ask? Shared vulnerability model. It implies that both creativity and mental disorders stem, at least in part, from the same genetic traits. What are these genetic traits? Reduced latent inhibition, that we already discussed, found in creatives, and similarly in schizophrenia. Novelty salience. This mechanism uses dopamine as a reward for brain to motivate us to choose new ideas and experiences, found in creatives and similarly in addiction. Neural hyperconnectivity. When there are excessive connections between neurons or brain regions. Great for random associations to create a new idea by creative people, and found similarly in bipolar disorders or schizophrenia. Emotional lability. Sudden, exaggerated, and involuntary shifts in mood and emotional expression. It causes intense motivation to create something, and also found similarly in mood disorders such as bipolar disorder. But how is it that the same genetic traits that can cause creativity in one individual cause mental disorders in another? Well, the framework says that the deciding factors are IQ, cognitive flexibility, and working memory. High IQ, cognitive flexibility, and working memory tips the scale towards creativity, while lower values in them tips the scale towards mental disorders. I do need to clarify that these associations are poorly understood at the time and need much more research. All this might suggest a link, but again with mild symptoms. A full blown psychopathological disorder almost always negatively impacts creativity.
Do you want to be a genius? A creative genius? Do you have what it takes? A broken heart? Maybe a depressed brain? A tremulous soul? Or multiple personalities? If not, then call us right now! Call us on 1800 my life. That is 1800FUCKMYLIFE.
Also, I'm sure there are other factors contributing to this higher rate of disorders in creative people. Factors such as the stress of making their creativity a viable career. Money stress haunts us all. Then, a creative person is also likely to be non-conforming to the societal norms and ways. The self-awareness, the knowledge, the emotional instability, all together probably allows an artist to escape the social and cultural restraints that favor conformity and convention. Something that isn't ideal to be original, but it also might cause a lack of hope that comes from the conformity. Now, coming back to the idea of a mad genius. As I was saying, I wanted to be one of them. I didn't care about relationships or physical and mental health. I thought this obsession with art would give me all the excitement and happiness I need in life. And to be fair, it's not just about the art then. You also want to be great, like the others that have had these kind of lives. You want to be remembered, you want to be talked about. Have you seen Rishabh's work?
Oh, that crazy guy who ended his life. Yes, him. Have you seen his work? Oh, yeah. I did love his work.
I told you. Okay, no. That's a little bit too much. I just wanted to be miserable and then make some art. But you see the issue. It's not very healthy. Duh. What I have realized in the last few years is that motivation for work, which being miserable or mentally ill may give, doesn't last that long. The down in the dumps emotional state may lead you to create something great, but it is a one-off thing. What about the next day? What about the day after? If art is your career, then you can't depend on these unreliable emotions for motivation. So then, what can you do? Well, that's where routine and discipline comes into play. Sounds boring, but it is what it is. You train yourself to do something every day and then your brain gets used to it. You don't need to live a miserable life to create something moving. You just need to create. The miserable parts of your life will definitely add to it. But that's not the end goal. The end goal is to be healthy, physically and mentally. To be able to do this for as long as possible. Maybe the stories of mentally ill artists are propagated more since we enjoy them. But there isn't any lack of stories from artists that prove otherwise. There are many that have created some absolutely wonderful pieces of art and innovation, being mentally stable and mentally healthy. We just need more representation of healthy creative individuals in literature and media, since until now the attention has generally been on dysfunctional creatives. And this romanticization can be very dangerous. Romantic associations with mental illness and being miserable, overlooking the actual evidence, may do more harm than good. Falling prey to false beliefs, especially with regards to mental health, is not good by any means. While the association between creativity and mental disorder may not be very clear, the pros of creativity is absolutely clear. Creativity is needed for everyone, not only artists. It is a beautiful way to process emotions. There are enough evidences that show the importance of creativity in healing. Healing from a mental disorder, like mental trauma, PTSD, anxiety, depression. Maybe I'll make a whole another episode on just that. But in distress or not, creativity is extremely helpful in recovering and processing. I think the majority of us do not really like to sit and contemplate about what is happening with us emotionally or physically. We can't seem to or like to come face to face with our realities, and so we seek distractions. These could be anything from watching YouTube to smoking to jerking it off. Even creating art is one such distraction. But it is a beautiful distraction. What it lets us do is something that barely anything else in this world offers us. It offers us distraction, but in a form of deep, unconscious self contemplation. The very thing we wanted the distraction from. Sometimes it might be clear to us, but sometimes it might be very subconscious that you stand face to face with yourself while creating art, while being creative. It's a distraction that I, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Next time you are itching to pick up that phone or to zip down those pants, go create something instead, however bad it may be. But if it's too bad, then don't create. Find something else. I'm kidding. But there are a lot of things, a lot of options to be creative. Choose wisely, choose freely, and choose the Bedroom Labs for your next president. To vote for us, please subscribe and like the video. And in the comments, tell us why you don't want to vote for us. Tab tak ke liye Shabba Khair, Shubh Ratri, and good night. Also, if you have anything that you don't understand and want me to look into for some reason, leave it down in the comments and I just might make a video on it. Ta-ta.